Hey, y'all, it's been a minute, but welcome to She Talk. I'm so excited to be your host tonight. Of course, it's me, Sierra. I'm the creator of She Is E-Magazine, and we are having the very lovely Francheska Fancy Felder. She is the creator of SwagHer magazine. So I'm so excited to have her because somebody that I definitely look up to that's been killing these media streets, taking over with her magazine, her publicist company, like just being so many things. And she is definitely a true inspiration to me. So she is jumping on Fancy on here. So I'm glad that you tuned in and happy Thursday to you all. Fancy, I actually tapped your invite. There you go. How you doing?
Oh, greetings. I'm good, and you?
Doing good. Doing good. Yes, I'm excited to have you.
Likewise, I'm happy to be here.
I know I was like, listen, first of all, I've been wanting to get you on the cover, but I was like, I see her doing so many things. Let me just see if I can get her on. And it so happened, like some things happened. I switched some stuff up, and I was like, let me go ahead and look. I felt like a man. Let me shoot my shot.
Well, look, I'm always saying to do that,
Yes.
so I applaud you for doing so, and I'm grateful that you did.
Yeah, it's a blessing. I was telling the audience, for the ones that might not know who you are, you're definitely someone that I look up to. And when it comes to like this media world, PR, you know, everything in between, I feel like you're just like you up there, girl. You up there.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you definitely, have set the bar for little people like myself. Very inspirational. And what I love too that, you don't lack transparency because some of us are like so afraid to say who we are. But you definitely, I've seen you like Shell going to this butterfly. I'm like, look at Fancy out
Yeah,
there showing out.
it was a lot of work, but I feel like I am at that point, and thank you for recognizing that.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I've been watching you. Like I said, I'm just happy to see you doing it because it takes a lot of courage to just be ourselves in front of the camera. It's easy to do things behind the camera, but when you start getting in front of that camera, you can't do nothing but just be you.
Yeah,
Just
and that's true, and I think that's what resonates best with people anyway.
right. Absolutely, because we have so many fake things going on in this world. To have something that's real and tangible, it means everything.
Yeah,
It means
yeah.
everything. So I'm not gonna keep you long. I know we be working and doing all kind of stuff out here, but I do want to have you introduce yourself to the audience because somebody might actually not know who you are.
Okay, I have no problem with that. So I am the award-winning editor-in-chief of SwagHer magazine, where I'm also the lead publicist because we do double as a PR boutique. And then I'm those titles, but I also now have to remember that I teach seventh grade ELA, so I am an educator, and I'm a mom.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, the educator is crazy because it's like you're educating people, you're educating children, but you are also, again, helping women come out of the shells, whoever else come out of their shells and showing them like you need to share your story. So, like, in those moments with, that been like full circle moments, do you ever like doubt yourself when it comes to having those full circle moments and sharing your own story?
Um, well, I will say I do doubt myself at times. I do have issues with doubt at times. But as far as like sharing my story, that hasn't ever, it's always been kind of nothing to me because I always feel like people don't know me still, you know?
Mm.
I feel like they only get bits and parts of the stories. They still don't have the full thing. And there's still so many other layers that, like interviews maybe haven't tapped into, or just individuals haven't been close enough to me to see all those things.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it's just really, that's just really important to me though.
Yeah, for sure. Because again, I know like with me, we can be like real reserved and be like, I'm only gonna give you a little bit. But then, whenever you are like in front of in running these businesses, like you do have to open up yourself and start saying, hey, this is also me. Like I'm not just, don't put me in a box
Right.
because I'm so
Because
many
people will do
things.
that,
They
and people will
will.
put you in a box.
They definitely will. They'll be like, oh, and when you show them that you like do other things or have the ability to do other things, they be so shocked, like, oh, I didn't even know
True.
that.
And I will say, like, I feel like I have been placed in a box because, when I started out, I was so quiet. I really was afraid to speak, even though I really wanted to speak. And I realized like I was missing out on opportunities because people would be like, oh, well, Fancy would want to do that. But you never asked, you know what I mean? So like there are plenty of things I like to do or just and try for the first time. Just because I appear that way doesn't always mean, that's what I wanted. And that's what really made me have to come out of my shell.
Mm, I understand. I understand. So tell me, because the name SwagHer, when you hear it, it's just so catchy. Tell me how you actually came up with that name. I know how you got started, but where did the name come from?
So we started when swag about the time swag surfing was out. And I just really love that song. I love how it brought people together, like it didn't
Hmm.
matter what was going on, people just connected over the song. And initially when we did our first cover, it was spelled swagger, the regular way,
Okay.
SWAGGER. And the graphic designer was like, if this is going to be a women's magazine, that's too masculine. And
Hmm.
so he suggested the her. And so his name is Robert Jackson. And I always recognize him for that because I greatly appreciate him, suggesting that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that swag, sir. It ain't gonna never go nowhere. It's never gonna get old.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah, that's cool though. I had no idea that that's where, you were inspired about the name. That's dope. That's dope. And
Yeah,
again, like I said, when you hear it, it just rings bells in your head like, oh my gosh, like it stands apart.
yeah. And I really liked how just, I feel like with everything that I do with the magazine or any of my work, I always try to make certain it has like a positive or uplifting vibe to it.
Hmm.
And with that being said, that just kind of it made me think about like the fact that too, a lot of times when we ask people that question, they're confused because they go to fashion when we're really asking like what makes you, like
Right,
what's
right.
your swagger. And so I just wanted to make certain people understand that because oftentimes people do think like, oh well, you gotta ask somebody else how I dress, and I'm like, that's not what I'm asking you.
Right.
So, so
I think people are not good with understanding or how to define themselves. Like they struggle with defining themselves
they
because
do.
they let people tell them who they are.
Oh, now
They
that's a
let
word.
people tell, yeah, they let people tell them who they are instead of them recognizing who they are. I dealt with that myself. Like, I let people label me, give me all these labels, and I was like, dang, the older I get, life happens. You start finding out like who you are, and you're like, no, I'm gonna take this label off because this is really not me. Or I was this one time, but I'm no longer this person anymore. So yeah, I get
Yeah,
it. I find that
yeah,
all the time whenever, like doing interviews, I'll be like, that's why I always say, who are you outside of your bio? Because people get used to the standard way or who people have told them to be. No, baby, tell me who you are.
yeah. That is very true. We're so into the titles and so on, and oftentimes, I just think about if I am, then I be, and like, with that being said, I'm other things outside of all those titles. Like there are other verbs
Mhm.
that define me. So yeah.
Absolutely. So I feel like, now this is just my outward perspective of you. I feel like you a Jill of all trades. Because you have your hands in so many things, and you are doing not just have your hands in so many things, but you are successfully doing so many things. So, do you ever hear people call you that?
Actually, not really, but I think a lot of people don't know what all I do. I still feel like
Mhm.
that. But see, like for you, somebody that has been supporting for a while, like you can see that, but a lot of other people, I don't think that they've realized that. They just kind of think, oh, I do the magazine,
Mhm.
and it's still like we've still been working hard and trying to get people to recognize us as a PR boutique as well, and that's really that was really my goal, initially when I started everything. I wanted to be a PR boutique. The magazine just came because it was like instead of people allowing me to arrange interviews for them, they were sending me people to interview. And so that's
Gotcha.
how the magazine came about.
Wow. Yep. That was my next question. Like, how did it start? Because I heard you say before, like, we were a boutique. I mean, PR boutique. That's the goal. That was the goal of SwagHer. But it
Hmm.
spinned off into something else, which is great because it's doing great as well.
Yeah,
It's doing
that's
great
true.
as well. Yeah, it's doing great as well. So tell me, like, with being an educator, being a mom, doing all of these things, business owner, uh, do you ever feel like, oh gosh, I need to slow down? Are you overwhelmed?
Oh,
Do you experience that? Because I feel like we all do. But sometimes
yeah.
people are like, no, I'm good because I got a team. I can do this. Do you ever feel that?
I feel very overwhelmed at times, and because of my anxiety, I do take medication for it, but I also have to remind myself to like take moments to step back, make lists, do things like that, make certain that I'm taking time for myself, and that's something
Mhm.
that I really used to neglect in the past years. But I've grown to be more adamant about taking that time now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was just overwhelmed the other day, especially with school about to start,
Ooh,
and I'm trying to remember because I'm still in transitioning. So I feel like that 1 year went by so fast. So I've only been teaching for a year, so this is my second year. But it just seems like the first year went by so fast, and there was so many things to take in. There was still so many things that I feel like I still missed.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And again, people they almost act plastic, like, no, I don't get overwhelmed. But yeah, it's good to know, like, we not the only ones that get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like, these business women get overwhelmed, and I feel like just being a woman of color, that could be a overwhelming thing because people are always looking up to us to be these heroes and save everybody, and again, back to the labels, but
The
definitely taking
problem
out that time.
solver.
Absolutely, been able to
Yeah.
just pull away from everything and just be like, I got to take care of me, is always something that's so important.
Yeah. That's very
Always.
true.
Always. So I want to ask, because I'm not sure, um, do you offer like mentorships, coaching for people that might be interested in considering, like, getting into PR or starting a magazine business, or anything else that might go along with media?
That's an interesting question. I actually, I offer the visibility coaching, but a big part of that I'm actually doing and not coaching. I've realized, but I do also make suggestions to my clients about things that they should do.
Okay.
But then when it comes to like mentoring, I haven't really. I have. Let me take that back because there was one person that asked, and it, something like I think that's when I was really caught up in the mix of school, and so I wasn't able to get back to her. But I do still intend to do so. And then like occasionally people may ask me questions, but I've never just. I'm not gonna say I'm not confident about it, but so much of what I do is so self-taught.
Got
I almost be
you.
kind of nervous because I'm like, I never worked at another magazine. I've learned all of this, acquired all this information and knowledge on my own. I
Mhm.
don't mind sharing it, but I just would like to be, like I don't know. I wish there was some type of way at times, like somebody could just tell me, like, hey, you know what, you're doing this well, or you know what, most magazines would do this,
Right.
but I only know how our systems work. Now, if anybody's interested in that, then I have no problem with teaching them, and I don't feel any type of way about it because I know that it's taken us 14 years to get where we are. You know what I mean? So it's not like
Right.
it's a competition sort of thing.
Absolutely. That's cool to say too, because people don't understand. Like, I was listening to somebody the other day that was like, just because it worked for you doesn't always mean that you are a coach or whatever these people be calling themselves, because
Yeah.
you might be good now, like you said, over time you learn your skills, you sharpen up on your skills, but just because you can do that, you might not be a good teacher.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? You might not have the patience to coach people. Like, you might be a nasty coach, or
And that's
my
true
system
too.
might not work for you, like you said.
Yeah.
So,
Because people are always like, you should try this just different at times, when we have because there's still so much growth that I feel like we can experience, and people are always suggesting like, "Won't you try this or won't you try that?" And it's like I have to remind them we've been trying this for 14 years, so we've tried this already.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this isn't a new idea to us. We tried that 10 years ago, and then at the same time, I have to remind myself maybe that it wasn't your time when you tried it 10 years
Right.
ago, so maybe you should try it again. So it's kind of like a catch-22, but I think
Yes.
that people don't always take that into consideration.
That's true. And I it's
Sarah, you,
when people are telling me like giving me those type of suggestions, but if we did it then and it didn't work, yeah, it doesn't mean that I don't want to try it again. But if something is working for me right now, okay, let me, if I do switch, I don't want to lose time failing at that same thing that I failed at before.
right?
So that
Yeah,
transition, it could be a challenge. Like it actually might work this time, but it's a little scary to step out there whenever you know things are working for you and you're trying to try something that wasn't working for you.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, because people, I don't know, they get offended by that. It's like, no, don't get offended. Like I appreciate your advice or your suggestion, but yeah, no.
Yeah.
But anyways, I do want to ask though, Fancy. I know you say you're a mother as well. And I be watching, and I seen somebody going to college, I believe. So, how has that been? Been an educator, and also a parent as well. Like, how does that make you feel?
Um, it's like I realized my kids must have been so self-sufficient.
Mhm.
Just when I think about my students and how they are, and I'm just like, I don't even recall. But I won't lie. There was also a time when I moved to Atlanta, my kids weren't with me, so there was some years that were also missing in between that.
Okay.
And then I just feel like too, because I was always working, I feel like I missed out on a lot. So
Mhm.
dealing with kids nowadays it just seems like my kids in comparison seem so different from them, but then there are still other ways where they're a lot similar.
Okay.
I think the fact that I am a mom allows me to better understand them, especially since I feel like I really worked hard at being a good mom, just like
Mhm.
improving myself when I was back with my kids. So just the little things, or just taking the time to really get to know them and let them be themselves, I try to incorporate that with my students. But it is still like these kids nowadays, that's a whole nother.
They did,
But
friend.
yeah, they are very different. But I'm learning, and I think like the more you really take the time to get to know them and understand like how they view the world, the better it is, like the less of a struggle that it is working with them.
That's true because even at the end of the day, children are going to be children.
Yeah.
That is something that's going to forever be in common. I don't care if it's 2050, they are still going to be children.
And that's the truth. That really is the case, And at times I have to remind myself, and that's why I said, because like it would be like just little things. I know my own kids, especially with their ages, at their big ages now. I don't
Yeah.
even. I'm so it's such a difference because I teach seventh grade, and here my
Mhm.
kids are like in their 20s and late teens. So I'm like, there's a lot that has changed over the years that
Yes.
I had to like reconnect with.
Yeah, I'm sure because again, I just be watching the kids, even my children, they're teenagers, and I just be like, oh my gosh, or they're exposed to so many things, that we weren't because we
Yeah,
didn't. I mean, yeah, I had the internet, but it wasn't like this. It's crazy now, But yeah, it's different. They're different. They're smarter, you
yeah.
know.
Girl, look,
They
I taught an advanced class, and the papers that some of my students would write, I mean, like they were just so well written. Just, they
wow.
hit all the points, and I was just like, this, I was amazed because I know I was not writing like that at seventh grade level,
Okay.
but it also shows you how they view things, like they could see things the same way we as adults could see things at times. And I was so taken by that.
See, I'm telling you, it's crazy out here. It is so crazy. So I want to ask you because you do have, such longevity and I know you'll have continued longevity. But what do you think made you stay with your business and your magazine and your company like all these years? Because I'll be honest, like I be giving up like every month.
And
Every
look,
month I be like, you know what? I'm about to sunset this whole thing because I'm just like, not working. I'm getting tired. You know what I mean? Or then all of a sudden somebody will come through and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot give up because they here you are done booked something else. Like,
yeah,
so
I've been
how
there.
what like what how do you balance like that? How have you been able to maintain that longevity?
Really, I know it might sound crazy to some people, because I've definitely had family members that it sound crazy too, but I just feel like I don't have another option, you know? Like
No.
even going
Oh
back
wow.
into the work, like just getting a job, that was very difficult for me to do because me and jobs never seem to have worked out in the past. I'm thankful that with my current job, I really like my colleagues, you know, and the
Mm-hmm.
work that I do. So I'm thankful for that. But if at any moment God is like, okay, I'm ready to bless somebody else with this position, I'm like, you know what? But I do what I love, you know, and
Yeah.
I really love that. But also, having Jarmel with me all these years, I'm not gonna lie,
Mhm.
that has been so helpful because it's a lot of the times, you know, I be ready to give up too, and I still,
Yeah.
and this is still a current, you know, present day, and he'll be
Mhm.
like, you know that we go through seasons, you know what I mean, like, you know, this is just part of like the ups and downs that we're gonna have to go through, and just knowing that somebody is crazy enough to believe in you that
Right.
much, you know what I mean, like that really keeps me going.
Absolutely. Jarmel is great too.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. And it's important to have that type of support. I definitely have it, from my parents and loved ones. But even then sometimes like you don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You're like, you telling me, but I'm actually the one doing the footwork. Like, okay, whatever. And
But
it's a battle,
think
but
I think after a certain point you just be like, you know what, I needed to be reminded of that and let me just,
that's right.
let me stop complaining. Let me be grateful for the things that are going well. You know what I mean?
That's
But yeah, it those moments do still occur.
Oh, and you know what? Thank you for the transparency because again, people don't realize like it be going down.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. Like, see, I think like the biggest thing I think people don't realize is that like we're still, even with our community that we've built, we're still considered to be small media. You know what I mean?
Right.
We don't get those corporate sponsorships. It's hard as I don't know what to be able to connect with people within the corporate world. So, who do you all think pays us? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, how do you all think we keep the lights on and things
That's
like
right.
that? You know, like even having a team, how am I even able to pay the contributors or the correspondents or the my core team that I work with,
Right.
and I think like that's like one of the most discouraging things right there because at times,
Mhm.
and then you see like other outlets can come out and just like boom, that's it
That's
already.
true.
You know what I mean?
That's
And I'm
true.
like, I don't get it, but at the same time, I said, okay, it must have just not been my time, and that's what I have to tell myself. But
Mhm.
still, there are those questions for God. That's just like, why do I have to pull teeth or, just
That's right.
people don't respect your brand the way they respect other brands. So I still experience all of those.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you do. But again, you'd be like, I think some people are like, when we get it out the mud, it's different for
Yeah,
us. And I was thinking the other day, I was like, I feel like God be like, you got to really work for this because there's people that are really not working that hard for that. And when they get it, they don't appreciate it. And then he also, I feel like he'd be like, I'm going to give it to you because I don't want them to give it to you because
wow.
I want you to say, I did it, not them because God is jealous. So that's how the other day I was like, oh, okay, God, I understand why I be having to go and get my stuff from you and not these people.
Look, I just appreciate you for that word because I need to hear that. Like, I really need to hear that.
Yeah, I'm serious. I really, over the years, like I used to always see people like you said, it seemed like stuff was constantly falling out the sky for them. And I'd be like, and those are the people that didn't hardly work nothing, didn't do nothing, just chilling. And I'm out here grinding. And I'm like, dang, I don't understand this. You know what I'm saying? And I've been like, I know God was like, no, I'm gonna need for me to get the glory in your life and not those people. Not
Yeah.
those.
I can see
So
that now.
so
Yeah, thank you.
I get it. You're welcome. I get it. So I can relate. I know how that feels. But I do want to ask you because there might be some people on here that don't know how to support you or read any of the copies of the magazine, or they might need a publicist. Can you tell them how they can, reach out to you, follow the magazine, all the in between?
So you can always support by just visiting the website, or the website is swagheronline.com. And then if you're interested in like advertising or anything, you can always reach out to us via email. You can contact us via any of our social media accounts. We're always on. But then if you're interested in public relations services, which are a higher ticket offer, um, the, there is a tab on our menu that'll take you to the swaggerpr.com website. So that's for everything PR right there.
Awesome, awesome. And I want to remind you guys that Fancy was our cover girl for July. So if you have not, because there's questions I have not asked her on this live that are in the magazine. But if you haven't read the magazine, definitely click the link in my bio on this page. And you can get the print copy as well, but you can get the digital copy delivered right to your phone. It is a great read. And she has some bomb photos.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So definitely support Swag Her. Again, Fancy, I just appreciate you so much for just being humble, and kind and just inspirational. Like I just admire you. So thank you for being
Thank
who you are in these media streets.
thank you so much, Sierra. I really appreciate that.
No, no problem, no problem. And definitely support her. Follow them if you're not already following them. And yeah, we're gonna have a great evening. You guys have a great evening. Fancy. Enjoy the rest of your
You
week.
too. Peace and
Bye.
blessings, y'all.
Good night.